Teacher Kim was arranging papers on her desk when she heard the familiar sound of car doors slamming outside Sunshine Elementary School. It was 3:30, and parents were arriving for pickup time. She glanced through the classroom window and watched as families reunited after another school day. This was her favorite part of teaching, seeing the joy on children's faces when they spotted their parents. She was about to pack her bag when something caught her eye. Mr. Park was walking toward the school entrance, but something seemed different about him today. Kim had been teaching for 20 years, and she knew all her students' parents well. Mr. Park usually walked with a slight limp from an old soccer injury. But today, his steps were perfectly even. His posture was straighter than she remembered, almost military-like. Kim shook her head, thinking she was being silly. People changed their walking style all the time, especially after physical therapy. She continued organizing her lesson plans when 8-year-old Hannah Park burst through the classroom door. "Teacher Kim, my dad is here," Hannah announced with her usual bright smile. The little girl had been in Kim's class for 6 months now, and she was one of the smartest students Kim had ever taught. Hannah could solve math problems that challenged 5th graders and asked questions about space and science that sometimes stumped even Kim. "That's wonderful, Hannah. Did you remember to pack your science project?" Kim asked, watching as the girl stuffed papers into her backpack. "Yes. I can't wait to show my dad the model of the solar system we made today," Hannah replied. Excitedly, Park appeared in the doorway, and Kim felt that strange feeling again. He looked exactly like the Mr. Park she knew. Same height, same dark hair, same kind eyes, but there was something in his expression that seemed too controlled, too measured. "Hello, Teacher Kim," he said with a polite bow. His voice sounded right, but there was an odd quality to it, like he was speaking from a script. "Hello, Mr. Park. Hannah did excellent work on her project today," Kim replied, studying his face carefully. "Thank you for taking such good care of her," he responded. Again, the words seemed perfect, but they lacked the warmth she usually heard from parents. Hannah ran to her father and threw her arms round his waist in a big hug. That's when Kim saw it. A thin tear in Mr. Park's shirt sleeve, and underneath, something that definitely wasn't skin. It looked metallic, with tiny lines that seemed to pulse with a faint blue light. Kim blinked hard, wondering if her eyes were playing tricks on her. "Are you feeling all right, Mr. Park? You seem a bit different today," Kim asked casually, hoping to get a better look. "I'm fine, just tired from work," he replied quickly, adjusting his sleeve to cover the strange area. Daughter's father and daughter walked toward the door. Kim heard Hannah whisper something to her dad. But instead of typical child chatter about her day or asking for ice cream, the words sounded like numbers. Sector 7. Grid coordinates 42.6. Kim's blood ran cold. What kind of 8-year-old talked about grid coordinates? And why did Mr. Park simply nod as if this was perfectly normal conversation? She watched through the window as they walked to their car. Mr. Park's movements were too precise, like a dancer who had practiced every step thousands of times. When he opened the car door for Hannah, he did it with mechanical perfection. No wasted motion, no natural human clumsiness. The car itself looked the same as always, a blue sedan that Kim had seen in the parking lot many times. But as they drove away, she could have sworn she saw a strange shimmer around the vehicle. Like heat waves on a summer day, Kim's hands were shaking as she gathered her things. In 20 years of teaching, she had developed strong instincts about children and their families. She could spot trouble at home, health problems, or emotional issues just by observing behavior patterns. Right now, Every instinct she had was screaming that something was terribly wrong. She remembered Hannah's recent behavior changes too. The girl had always been bright, but lately she had been asking strange questions about space travel, alien life, and advanced technology. Last week, she had drawn a picture that looked remarkably like a spacecraft, complete with details that seemed far too sophisticated for a child her age. Kim grabbed her car keys and made a decision that went against all logic and school policy. She was going to follow them. She didn't know what she expected to find. But she couldn't shake the feeling that little Hannah was in danger. The metallic lines under Mr. Park's sleeve, the mechanical movements, the strange conversation, it all added up to something that her rational mind couldn't accept. But her teacher's heart couldn't ignore. She rushed to her car, hoping she wasn't too late to catch up with them, whatever was happening to the Park family. Kim knew she couldn't just go home and pretend everything was normal. Kim's heart pounded as she started her old Honda and pulled out of the school parking lot. She kept a safe distance behind the blue sedan, trying to look like just another parent heading home. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly as she navigated through the busy afternoon traffic. The Park family's car moved through the city streets at exactly the speed limit, never speeding up or slowing down. Kim noticed that Mr. Park didn't seem affected by traffic lights or other drivers the way normal people were. He made every turn with mechanical precision, as if he had driven this exact route 1,000 times before. After 20 minutes of driving, they left the familiar neighborhoods behind. The buildings became smaller and more spread out. Soon they were driving past empty lots and abandoned warehouses on the outskirts of the city. Kim had lived here her whole life, but she rarely came to this industrial area. Most of these factories had been closed for years. The sedan turned down a dirt road that Kim almost missed. She waited a few seconds before following, not wanting to get too close. Dust clouds kicked up by their car made it hard to see clearly. The road was bumpy and full of potholes, making her small car bounce and shake. Kim's phone had no signal out here. She was completely alone, following a man she was beginning to suspect wasn't really human into the middle of nowhere. Every logical part of her brain told her to turn round and call the police. But the image of little Hannah's trusting face kept her moving forward. The dirt road led to what looked like an old electronics factory. Kim remembered reading about it in the newspaper years ago, when it closed down, putting hundreds of people out of work. The building was massive, with broken windows and rust stains running down its concrete walls. Weeds grew through cracks in the parking lot, and graffiti covered the lower walls. Kim parked behind a cluster of dead trees and turned off her engine. She watched as Mr. Park and Hannah got out of their car and walked toward the main entrance of the factory. From this distance, they looked like a normal father and daughter taking a walk. But as they approached the building, something incredible happened. The rusty, broken walls began to shimmer like water. Kim rubbed her eyes, thinking the afternoon sun was playing tricks on her vision. But the shimmering continued, and slowly, sections of the wall became completely transparent through the clear sections. Kim could see that the inside of the building was nothing like the abandoned factory it appeared to be from the outside. Instead, she saw gleaming metal corridors filled with soft blue light. Strange symbols glowed on the walls, and she could make out what looked like advanced computer screens displaying information in languages she had never seen before. Kim's mouth fell open in shock. This was technology far beyond anything she had ever imagined. The building was some kind of disguise, hiding something that belonged in a science fiction movie. She watched in amazement as Mr. Park and Hannah walked right through what had appeared to be a solid wall. Fear mixed with wonder as Kim realized she was witnessing something that would change everything. She thought she knew about the world, But her concern for Hannah overrode her amazement. The little girl was walking into that strange place with someone who might not even be her real father. Kim got out of her car as quietly as possible and crept closer to the building. She could hear a low humming sound, like the noise her computer made, but much louder. The air around the factory felt different too, charged with electricity that made the hair on her arms stand up as she got nearer. She could see more details through the transparent sections. There were creatures inside that definitely weren't human. They were tall and thin, with long arms that seemed to have too many joints. Their skin looked grey and smooth, and they moved in ways that reminded Kim of insects. One of the creatures was wearing what looked like a uniform covered in those same glowing symbols. It was carrying some kind of device that projected holographic images into the air. Kim squinted, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. The holograms looked like star maps, showing solar systems and space routes. She realized she was looking at aliens, real aliens, not the kind from movies, but actual beings from another world. They had somehow disguised their spacecraft or base to look like an abandoned factory. And they had taken Hannah inside. Kim's teacher instincts kicked in stronger than her fear. She had spent her career protecting children, and she wasn't about to stop now, even if it meant facing creatures from outer space. She looked round for another way into the building. Staying low and moving carefully, she found a section of wall that was still solid but had a crack running through it. The crack was just wide enough for her to squeeze through if she was careful. Kim took a deep breath, said a quick prayer, and pushed herself through the opening into the most dangerous situation of her life. Kim squeezed through the crack in the wall and found herself in a corridor that looked like something from a space movie. The walls were made of smooth metal that seemed to glow with its own light. Strange symbols moved across digital screens built into the walls, changing colors from blue to green to purple. The air hummed with energy, and Kim could feel vibrations under her feet from powerful machines running somewhere deep in the building. She pressed herself against the wall and moved slowly down the hallway. The floor was made of some kind of material that felt soft under her shoes but didn't make any noise when she walked on it. Everything here was designed by minds that thought very differently from humans. Kim heard voices and carefully peeked round a corner. What she saw made her heart stop. In a large room filled with blinking computers and floating holographic displays, she saw creatures that could only be aliens. They were about 7 feet tall within, grey bodies that looked almost like giant insects. Each one had forearms that bent in ways that human arms couldn't. And their heads were larger than human heads, with big, dark eyes that seemed to see everything. The creatures wore tight-fitting suits covered in the same glowing symbols she had seen on the walls. Some of them were working at control panels that projected three-dimensional images into the air. Kim could see star maps showing different planets and solar systems. Other displays showed what looked like human brain scans and DNA sequences. But what terrified Kim most was what she saw in the center of the room. There were about 20 human children sitting in strange chairs that looked like they were made of liquid metal. The chairs had molded themselves round each child's body, and thin cables connected to their heads. The children's eyes were closed, and they sat perfectly still, as if they were sleeping. Kim recognized several of the children from her school and other schools in the area. There was little Minho from the kindergarten class, Yuna from 3rd grade, and Jiwoo, who had been reported missing 2 weeks ago. And there, in the chair closest to where Kim was hiding, sat Hannah. The children were connected to a massive computer system that filled one entire wall of the room. Streams of light flowed from their heads through the cables into the machine. On screens above the computer, Kim could see images that looked like memories and thoughts. Children playing, learning to read, solving puzzles, creating art. The aliens were somehow stealing the children's minds. Kim covered her mouth to keep from gasping out loud. She watched as one of the aliens walked over to check on the children. Its movements were smooth and calculated, like a scientist examining lab specimens. It adjusted something on Hannah's chair, and more lights began flowing from the little girls. Head into the machine. The human creativity levels are exceeding our projections, one alien said to another in perfect English. Its voice sounded like it was coming from a computer rather than a living throat. Excellent. The young minds adapt to our extraction process much better than adult subjects. Their imagination patterns are exactly what our dying civilization needs to survive, replied the second alien. Kim felt sick. These creatures were using children like batteries, draining their creativity and intelligence to save their own species. But where was Mr. Park? She looked round the room and spotted him standing near a control panel, perfectly still and staring straight ahead. As Kim watched, she noticed that Mr. Park's chest rose and fell in a mechanical rhythm. Too regular to be natural breathing. His eyes didn't blink at the normal rate, and when he moved to check a computer screen, his movements were exactly like the aliens, too smooth and precise to be human. One of the aliens approached him and said, "Android Unit Park, report on. The human child's integration status. Integration proceeding normally." Mr. Park replied in that same flat voice Kim had noticed at school. The subject showed no resistance to the extraction process. Memory implants regarding the pickup from school are functioning correctly. Kim's world shattered. Mr. Park wasn't human at all. He was some kind of robot built by the aliens to look like Hannah's father. But if this was a fake Mr. Park, what had happened to the real one? She got her answer when she saw another part of the room. Behind a transparent wall, she could see what looked like a medical area. There were several beds, and on one of them lay a man who looked exactly like the Mr. Park she had known for years. But this man wasn't moving. Machines were connected to him. And Kim realized with horror that he wasn't sleeping. He was dead. The aliens had killed the real Mr. Park and replaced him with a robot copy. They had been using the android to get close to Hannah and probably other children too. Kim wondered how many other parents in their town had been replaced by these alien machines. She had to save these children. But she was just one person against an entire alien operation. The creatures had technology that was centuries ahead of anything humans had developed. They had ships that could hide as abandoned buildings, robots that could perfectly imitate people, and machines that could steal human thoughts. But as Kim looked at Hannah's peaceful face in that terrible chair, she knew she couldn't give up. These aliens had made one mistake. They had underestimated what a human would do to protect a child. Kim was so focused on watching the children that she didn't notice the alien creeping up behind her. A cold, four-fingered hand grabbed her shoulder, and she spun around to face one of the tall grey creatures. Its dark eyes stared at her without any emotion, like looking into deep space. Human, female detected in restricted area. The alien said in that mechanical voice, initiating capture protocol. Before Kim could run, two more aliens appeared from nowhere. They moved incredibly fast, their long arms reaching out to grab her. Kim tried to dodge, but their reflexes were much quicker than any humans. Within seconds, they had her arms pinned behind her back. They dragged her through several corridors filled with more amazing and terrifying technology. Kim saw rooms full of floating computers, chambers where liquid metal formed into different shapes, and walls covered with screens showing images of Earth from space. This wasn't just a hidden base. It was like being inside a massive spaceship that had been disguised as an old factory. Finally, they brought her to a room that was clearly meant for someone important. The ceiling was higher than the others, and holographic displays showed star maps of the entire galaxy. In the center of the room stood the largest alien Kim had seen yet. This one was at least 8 feet tall and wore a more elaborate uniform covered in golden symbols that pulsed with light. "So, we have discovered a curious human," the leader said. Walking in a slow circle round Kim, "You followed our collection. Unit here, most interesting. Your species usually avoids danger, yet you came anyway. Let those children go," Kim said, trying to keep her voice steady despite her terror. "They're innocent." "They don't deserve this." The alien leader made a sound that might have been laughter, but it sounded like grinding metal. "Innocent, perhaps, but necessary for our survival. Allow me to explain what you have stumbled into." "Human teacher," the creature gestured to the holographic displays, and they changed to show images of a dying planet. The world looked grey and lifeless, with cities that were falling apart and skies filled with poisonous clouds. "This is our home world of Kethar. For thousands of years, my people followed logic and efficiency above all else. We removed emotion, creativity, and what you humans call imagination from our society because we believed they made us weak. We built perfect machines, perfect cities, perfect lives." Kim watched in horror as the images showed the alien civilization slowly destroying itself. Their perfect logic had led them to strip their planet of resources, eliminate art and music, and turn their entire species into emotionless machines. But perfection led to stagnation. The leader continued, "Without creativity, we could not adapt when our world began to die. Without imagination, we could not find new solutions to save ourselves. We are now the last generation of our kind." "That's terrible," Kim said, and she meant it. Despite her fear, she felt sorry for these creatures, who had destroyed their own ability to feel and create. But stealing from children isn't the answer. Is it not? The alien's eyes glowed brighter. "We have studied hundreds of species across the galaxy. Humans are unique. Your creativity, your ability to imagine things that do not yet exist, your emotional responses that lead to unexpected solutions, these are the qualities that make your species so successful. We need these qualities to survive." The leader touched a control panel, and the screens now showed the process they were using on the children. Kim could see streams of colorful energy flowing from the kids' minds into massive storage devices. "We extract the neural patterns that create human imagination and creativity. With these patterns, we can rebuild our dying minds and save our civilization. The children will not be harmed. They will simply become more logical, more like us. You're turning them into robots," Kim said angrily. "Those children need their imagination. It's what makes them human. A small sacrifice to save an entire species," the alien replied coldly. But Kim wasn't listening anymore. 20 years of managing chaotic classrooms had taught her something these logical aliens didn't. Understand. Sometimes the best solutions came from pure human stubbornness and refusal to accept defeat. She noticed that every time she showed strong emotion, the alien technology around her seemed to flicker. The lights dimmed when she got angry, and the holographic displays wavered when she felt fear. These creatures had built their entire system around logic and predictability. They had no idea how to handle pure human chaos. Kim took a deep breath and did something that went against every logical thought in her head. She started laughing, not because anything was funny, but because laughter was the most logical, unpredictable thing she could think of. The effect was immediate. Sparks flew from nearby control panels. The holographic displays began showing random images, and alarms started blaring throughout the facility. The alien leader stepped back in confusion as Kim's uncontrolled human emotion overloaded their perfectly ordered systems. "What are you doing?" the creature demanded. But its voice was starting to sound distorted as the computers around them Malfunctioned. Kim realized she had found their weakness. They had built everything to handle logic and order. But human emotion was pure chaos to their systems. Kim's laughter spread through the alien facility like a virus attacking their computer systems. Every screen flickered wildly. And sparks flew from control panels as the creatures ran round in panic, trying to fix their malfunctioning technology. But Kim wasn't done yet. She started singing, loudly and off-key, the silly song she taught her kindergarten students about cleaning up toys. The alien leader stumbled backward as if Kim's terrible singing was physically hurting him. Stop. This chaos immediately. He shouted, but his voice was breaking up like a bad phone connection. That's when something amazing happened. In the main room where the children were connected to the machines, little Hannah's eyes suddenly opened. The alien technology had been designed to steal human creativity. But it had also accidentally connected all the children's minds together. And when Kim's emotional chaos hit their system, it woke up every single child at once. Hannah sat up in her chair, the cable still attached to her head, and smiled. "Hi, Teacher Kim," she said calmly, as if waking up from a pleasant nap. "We've been waiting for you." "Waiting for me?" Kim asked, still trying to cause as much emotional disruption as possible by jumping up and down like an excited child. "We weren't really asleep," Hannah explained. "We were all connected together in here, sharing our thoughts and dreams, and we figured out how to use their own machines against them." The other children began waking up too. Minho started giggling, which made more alien computers explode in showers of sparks. Yuna began reciting a funny poem she had made up, and the aliens' main processing unit started smoking. Jiwoo started drawing imaginary pictures in the air with her finger, and somehow her invisible artwork appeared on all the alien screens, causing complete system overload. "This is impossible," the alien leader screamed as his control room fell apart around him. "Human emotions cannot affect our technology this way." But Kim understood what was happening. "You built your machines to steal creativity and imagination," she called out over the noise of failing systems. "But you never learned to defend against it. You connected all these children's minds to your computers. And now their imagination is more powerful than your logic." Hannah stood up in her chair, the cables falling away harmlessly. "Everyone, remember the game we played in our dreams," she said to the other children. "Let's imagine their spaceship can't fly anymore." 20 children closed their eyes and concentrated together. They imagined the alien ship's engine stopping, its power failing, its advanced system shutting down one by one. And because they were still connected to the alien network, their combined imagination became reality. The entire facility shuddered and groaned. Emergency lights flashed red as the alien's main power core began failing. Through the transparent walls, Kim could see their spacecraft, a massive silver ship hidden inside the fake factory building, as it started falling toward the ground. "Retreat, retreat." The alien leader commanded his soldiers. "The human, emotional contamination is spreading through all our systems. We must evacuate before total system failure." The tall gray creatures ran through the corridors in complete panic, something Kim never thought she would see. Their perfect logic couldn't handle the chaos of human emotion and imagination. They had tried to steal what made humans special, but they had no defense against it when it was used as a weapon. Kim helped the children disconnect from the remaining cables and guided them toward the exit. But as they ran through the facility, she realized they weren't alone. Behind another transparent wall, she saw dozens of adults who looked just like the parents from their town. These had to be the real people the aliens had replaced with robots. "The grown-ups are in there," Hannah pointed. "We have to save them too." Working together, the children used their imagination one more time. They pictured the walls dissolving like sugar in water, and incredibly, the transparent barriers began to fade away. The real parents stumbled out, confused but alive. Dotmer, Pock, the real Mr. Pock, hugged Hannah tightly as tears streamed down his face. "I remember being taken," he said. "But then everything went dark. How long was I gone?" "Too long, Dad," Hannah replied, hugging him back. But Teacher Kim saved us all. As they escaped from the collapsing alien facility, Kim looked back to see the massive spaceship lifting off from inside the fake factory building. The ship wobbled and sparked as it struggled to fly with its damaged systems. It disappeared into the clouds, leaving only the empty shell of the old factory behind. Kim and all the rescued families stood together in the parking lot, watching the ship disappear. The children were laughing and playing as if nothing unusual had happened, while the adults tried to process what they had experienced. Hannah walked over to Kim and took her hand. "I knew you would figure out how to save us, Teacher Kim," she said with a bright smile. The aliens were really smart, but they didn't understand the most important thing about humans. "What's that?" Kim asked. "We never give up on the people we love. And that's what makes us special." The end.